I was clearly the kind of terrifyingly powerful second-generation immortal who could crush most people with ease, yet I treated every situation with extreme caution. Even after forcing Chu Feng to jump off a cliff, I still couldn't relax. His parents were dead, his family had been wiped out, and everything about him screamed chosen protagonist. Blowing up the cliff? Of course I considered it, but after calming down, I still wasn't satisfied. What if he survived even after I blew it up? That would only confirm he was one of those destiny-favored protagonists. After all, surviving a cliff fall was practically mandatory for people like him. And what if destroying the cliff accidentally revealed some ancient inheritance that let him level up? No, that was unacceptable. I had to see him alive or see his corpse. So I sent 10 monkeys down to investigate. In the end, all I got back were 10 green corpses. No matter which route they took, anything that descended more than 30 feet died from poison. I had even equipped them with the best antidotes available, yet it made no difference. Seeing that, I secretly concluded that even if Chu Feng hadn't died from the fall, he would probably die from the poison. Still, there were always exceptions. His parents were dead, I had chased him all the way here, and even under my full assault he had managed to find a chance to jump. That kind of luck looked exactly like the protagonist of a novel. If events followed the usual story, he would find some incredible opportunity down there and eventually return for revenge. I absolutely refused to allow that. After thinking for a moment, I turned to my trusted subordinate and ordered, "Go invite Bai Qianshu immediately and have him create an antidote for the poison below. Seal every exit at the bottom of the cliff, only allow people in, never out. Kill anyone who tries to leave. Also fill the cliff top with traps and poison. If Chu Feng manages to climb back up alive, make sure he dies here." Even after giving those orders, I still felt it wasn't enough. So I turned to Mo Ying and added, "Move every civilian in the Jiangfang primitive forest into the Tiandi cellar. Not a single one can be left behind. If anyone refuses, knock them unconscious and carry them away. Don't waste time arguing." According to the usual protagonist script, after jumping off a cliff, the hero was often rescued by a beautiful woman. He would recover from his injuries, obtain divine techniques, and even win the beauty's heart. But as long as I was here, Chu Feng wouldn't get such a happy ending. Thinking that, I curled my lips into a cold smile. Mo Ying accepted the task expressionlessly and left to make arrangements. He never asked why. The people who liked asking questions had long ago been sent to Clear Wasteland. A qualified subordinate only needed to know how to obey orders. Everyone in the Tiandi sect knew I was famous for being cautious. I always planned before acting and thought 3 times before every decision. Anyone who asked too many questions would be suspected of being a spy and sent away to open new territory. Just this attack on the Golden Rainbow Sword sect had taken me an entire year to prepare. Their sect master, Ye Kanglan, never even realized when he had been poisoned. The moment he saw me, all his cultivation scattered. Before he could say a single word, I cut him down with one strike. The funny thing was that even the people responsible for poisoning him didn't know what poison had been used. Every individual poison was harmless when examined separately, but after mixing together inside his body for a year and reacting with a special fragrance I carried, they became an incredibly deadly toxin. That miraculous poison had been created by my good friend Bai Qianshu. After arranging everything, I arrived at the Golden Rainbow Sword sect. My subordinates were cleaning up the battlefield in an orderly fashion. Corpses had been lined up neatly. As I looked around, my mood immediately worsened. Nearby was a group of women. Some stared blankly into space, some cried uncontrollably, and others giggled foolishly. I walked over expressionlessly. The squad leader responsible for that area saw my expression and hurried over. "Cult leader, these women were rescued from the Golden Rainbow Sword sect's dungeon. Their emotions are too unstable, and some seem mentally confused. We couldn't get them to stand in proper lines." I glared at him and snapped, "Are you an idiot? If they're making noise, just knock them unconscious." The squad leader nodded frantically. "Yes, yes, yes, this subordinate will do it immediately." As soon as he finished speaking, he flashed forward and struck every woman on the neck. Before long, they were all lying quietly on the ground. He then called other subordinates over and arranged them into neat rows. Only then did I nod in satisfaction. "Take them back for treatment. Find out their identities. Those who recover can stay and work. Those with mental problems should be sent to the Compassion Institute and placed under the City Lord's care. Also have the propaganda department write several articles using their stories to criticize the Golden Rainbow Sword sect. If their reputation isn't dragged through the mud, I won't be satisfied." The squad leader immediately cupped his fists and accepted the order before rushing off to arrange transportation. As I walked toward another group of prisoners, he quickly followed behind me and reported, "Cult leader, these are members of the Golden Rainbow Sword sect. Family members, guards, servants, 166 people in total." As I approached, some trembled in fear while others cursed loudly. "Great demon, you won't die peacefully. The Righteous Alliance won't let you go. Demon, if you've got the guts, kill me. 18 years later, I'll be a hero again." I looked at them and sneered. "You want to die? That's easy. I can grant your wish. You have 2 choices. 1, die here and continue serving the Yi family in the underworld. 2. Become my slaves and clear wasteland fields for me. Choose. The moment I finished speaking, the surrounding subordinates drew their blades in perfect unison. Several people who had been cursing loudly immediately lowered their heads and fell silent. A few stubborn fools continued shouting, however, so I waved my hand and ordered their execution. Blades flashed. Heads rolled. The scene instantly became silent. Yet after a brief pause, someone else began shouting, "Monster! Heaven will punish you! I'll fight you!" I watched them expressionlessly and lowered my hand. My subordinates struck again. After 2 rounds of executions, only 100 people remained. This time, no one dared curse anymore. They trembled in terror and didn't even dare cry loudly. I was very satisfied with the result. We were enemies. I had no interest in reforming them, and they wouldn't appreciate it anyway. The disobedient died. The obedient worked. It was that simple. Besides, expansion required manpower. These people could at least be useful. Good. Destroy the cultivation of everyone left. Feed them solid heart pills and send them to the Western Wasteland. The reason I was so ruthless had a lot to do with my unusual birth. Ever since I was born, I had 4 sharp tiger fangs in my mouth. The upper and lower fangs grew incredibly fast, and if they were removed, they would regrow within a day. It looked terrifying. My parents never understood why. After many examinations, however, everyone concluded that aside from my strange teeth, there was nothing wrong with me. They assumed it was some unique gift, but when I grew older, the Righteous Alliance led by the Golden Rainbow Sword sect used it against me. They spread rumors everywhere that I was the reincarnation of a blood demon, and blamed every evil deed on me. Eventually, they pressured my parents into committing suicide to prove my innocence. Only because they cared about appearances did the Righteous Alliance refrain from slaughtering my entire family. I was 14 years old that year. I cried until I fainted. When I woke up, it seemed as though I had become a different person. Everyone thought I had simply been traumatized. What nobody knew was that the original Xiao Jue had truly died from grief. The one who woke up afterward was actually a soul from Earth. Perhaps because my soul had been affected by space-time forces during transmigration, I possessed astonishing comprehension. Any technique I saw once, I could learn instantly. Any move used against me could immediately become my own. That was how I had risen from a second-rate martial artist to a peerless expert in just 4 years. Of course, comprehension still required a foundation. I couldn't simply imagine techniques from novels and become immortal overnight. In the Great Zhao Dynasty, fewer than 10 Origin Infant 7th level experts remained active. Hidden experts might exist, but I didn't know. I was confident I could defeat any of them in a fair fight. Even facing 2 at once, I wouldn't be at a disadvantage. If fairness wasn't required, then none of them stood a chance. After all, whenever someone arranged a duel with me, I simply poisoned them beforehand. I was already the villain and the demon. There was no need for me to follow the rules of the righteous sects. Meanwhile, countless boxes of spirit pills and treasures were being carried out of the Golden Rainbow Sword sect. Steward Old Zhang was supervising dozens of accountants as they registered and counted everything. When he saw me approach, he hurried over to bow. I nodded and noticed sweat covering his face. Old Zhang, let the servants handle the work. Why are you exhausting yourself like this? You're getting old. What if you collapse? Old Zhang was one of the Tiandi sect's oldest veterans. He and my father had been as close as brothers. His father and grandfather had also served as stewards of the sect. 3 generations without a single mistake. There was only one word to describe him: loyal. After my parents died, he never abandoned me. He supported the entire Tiandi sect and took care of me like family. Because I had inherited both the memories and emotions of the original Xiao Jue, he was one of the people I trusted and respected most. Hearing my concern, Old Zhang chuckled. That won't do. Human hearts are easily tempted. If I'm not here watching them, mistakes happen. I could only nod helplessly. Fine, you're right. Even so, I dragged him into a shady area and ordered servants to bring tea. In other people's eyes, I was a ruthless killer, but I could never be harsh toward those who genuinely cared about me. An elder in the family was like a priceless treasure. Many things Old Zhang considered more thoroughly than I did. Thanks to him managing the Tiandi sect, I could focus on cultivation and research. After listening to him discuss management concepts for a while, I brought him back toward the Tiandi sect. The Golden Rainbow Sword sect and Tiandi sect were separated by Luoxia City. The former was south of the city while we were north. The city itself had long been under our control. During the journey, I suddenly received a report. A masked woman in white had appeared in Luoxia City asking about the Golden Rainbow Sword sect. My expression changed immediately. I asked for every detail about her appearance, figure, and features. After hearing the description, I was 80% certain she was the legendary Child of Destiny. Yet after gathering information, she had vanished without a trace. It was as if she had disappeared from the world. That made me deeply uneasy. I immediately said goodbye to Old Zhang and rushed toward Death Cliff. By then, the traps and poison I had ordered were already in place. Even so, my brows remained tightly furrowed. Mo Ying, any news from Mr. Bai? Reporting to cult leader, Mr. Bai says the poison beneath Death Cliff is extremely unique. He needs 3 days to create a matching antidote. He is currently gathering materials. I nodded and stared into the bottomless abyss. During those 3 days, nobody could guarantee Chu Feng wouldn't encounter another opportunity. Send 20 elite disciples, divide them into 4 groups of 5. Have them patrol around Death Cliff from 4 different directions. Report anything unusual immediately. Especially pay attention to a woman dressed in white. Yes, this subordinate will arrange it immediately. Just as Mo Ying was about to leave, I stopped him again. Wait, have them carry the latest soul-chasing powder. If they encounter anyone suspicious, poison them first and ask questions later. Also tell them that within 10 miles of the cliff, not even a bird can be ignored. Someone might have transformed into one. Check everything carefully. My level of caution was beyond even Mo Ying's imagination, but he was already used to it. After he left, I stood alone by the cliff. If Chu Feng truly was favored by destiny, he would undoubtedly encounter all kinds of miraculous opportunities. Every extra precaution I took increased my chances of success. I could not allow him even the slightest possibility of making a comeback. Just as I was reviewing my plans and wondering whether I had missed anything, I suddenly sensed a faint fluctuation of spiritual energy. It vanished the next second. Instantly, I expanded my divine sense. The terrifying pressure of an Origin Infant 7th level expert sealed the surrounding 100 miles, and I launched indiscriminate attacks. As expected, after a barrage of strikes, a breathtaking woman in white was forced to reveal herself while defending with spiritual energy. Who are you and why are you here? The beautiful woman removed her disguise and appeared before me. I was genuinely surprised. I hadn't expected a treasure capable of hiding someone completely from an Origin Infant 7th level expert. Su Qingyan stared at me. Her eyes contained surprise, anger, and a trace of confusion. You're Zhao Jui, the man the Righteous Alliance calls the reincarnation of the Blood Demon? I curled my lips into a cold smile. And you believe everything the Righteous Alliance says? Tell me honestly, why are you here? Knowing she couldn't deceive me, she answered calmly, I am the Holy Maiden of the Sun Moon Divine Cult. I came only because I was curious why the Golden Rainbow Sword Sect was destroyed overnight. So it really was her. The Sun Moon Divine Cult was one of the oldest and most powerful forces on the continent. Even a first-rate force like the Tiandi sect would not provoke them lightly. So you're the legendary child of destiny. I've heard much about you. Tell me, Holy Maiden, are you here to save Chu Feng? Su Qingyan's expression changed instantly. Don't speak nonsense. I've only met him once. I arrived near Death Cliff and saw your people making preparations. I was curious, so I came to investigate. Her voice sounded calm, but I could sense her nervousness. If her sect learned she wanted to save a useless man, not only would they disapprove, they might even kill Chu Feng. Then she asked, but I want to know something. Why did you destroy the Golden Rainbow Sword Sect? What exactly did they do to you? I snorted. Ye Kanglan and the Righteous Alliance slandered me and forced my parents to death. This is simply repayment. Destroying him was only a warning to the Alliance. Su Qingyan fell silent for a moment. Even if Ye Kanglan was wrong, you shouldn't have involved so many innocent people. The Golden Rainbow Sword Sect still had disciples and families. What crime did they commit? Innocent? I replied coldly. They enjoyed the benefits brought by the Righteous Alliance. Then they should bear the consequences. If I hadn't been cautious and prepared beforehand, the ones dying today would have been me and my people. My voice turned even colder. If you have no other business, Holy Maiden, you may leave. I intend to make sure Chu Feng dies without a burial place. A strange light flashed through her eyes. She had originally intended to secretly rescue Chu Feng, but now that I had exposed her intentions, she couldn't beat me in a fight. Her fingers tightened around her sword hilt. Xiao Jue, if you're willing to spare Chu Feng and keep this matter secret, I'll agree to one condition. Anything, as long as I can do it. A mocking smile appeared on my face. The Holy Maiden of the Sun Moon Divine Cult is willing to lower herself for a mere nobody? Do you realize that if word of this spreads, the entire continent will laugh? My eyes sharpened. Or do you expect me to trust empty promises? Taking a deep breath, she suppressed her humiliation. I, Su Qingyan, swear in the name of the Sun Moon Divine Cult. If you spare Chu Feng, I will fulfill my promise without regret. If you don't trust me, I can leave behind a portion of my soul. Should I break my word, I will never attain the great Tao. A trace of surprise flashed through my eyes before being replaced by suspicion. You're willing to go that far? Or are you simply trying to stabilize me until you find a chance to betray me later? After a brief silence, she removed a jade pendant and sealed a strand of her soul inside it. I accepted the pendant and traced its patterns with my fingers. Possessing it would give me leverage over her, yet I still didn't fully trust her. A sincere compromise could easily hide a deeper scheme. Fine. Then I'll add one more condition that will help me feel secure. For the next 10 years, Chu Feng will remain under my personal supervision. Su Qingyan's body stiffened. Yet when she thought of Chu Feng's uncertain fate below the cliff, she gritted her teeth and nodded. Fine, I agree, but you must also promise not to harm him and not reveal our agreement. I smiled. I can promise not to attack him first, but if Chu Feng foolishly comes looking for trouble, then I won't show mercy. I may be cautious, but I'm not some soft target people can bully. Relief appeared in her eyes. As long as I stopped actively hunting Chu Feng, his abilities would eventually allow him to leave Loxia City alive. Agreed, she said quietly. Satisfied, I dissolved the barrier and beckoned Mo Ying over. Once the antidote is finished, send people below the cliff and find out whether Chu Feng is still alive. If he is, don't alert him yet. Wait for my further instructions. Mo Ying respectfully acknowledged the order. Su Qingyan glanced toward the seemingly bottomless abyss, her eyes filled with worry. I absent-mindedly tapped my fingers against a rock. Her compromise still felt strange, yet I couldn't identify any flaw. Hopefully, you won't disappoint me, Holy Maiden. At the same time, I had already begun planning how to use Su Qingyan as leverage while finding another opportunity to eliminate Chu Feng. Half a day later, Mo Ying returned. He wasn't walking. Instead, he was carrying a human-shaped bundle wrapped tightly in a specially crafted fishing net. Cult leader, we pulled him up. Mo Ying tossed the bundle onto the ground and reported expressionlessly. This kid's luck is unbelievable. The poisonous miasma below dissolved even rocks, yet he somehow found a crack barely half a foot wide and got himself stuck inside. He never fell into the poison pit. And Mo Ying paused, a strange look appearing in his eyes. When this subordinate found him, there seemed to be a faint layer of green light surrounding his body. It blocked most of the poisonous miasma. Instead of looking surprised, I let out a cold laugh. Just as I expected. A protagonist who survives a cliff fall always finds some miraculous opportunity. If he could be killed that easily by a fall or poison, then what kind of child of destiny would he be? Su Qingyan looked at the unconscious Chu Feng lying on the ground in his tattered blue robes, and a trace of pity flashed across her face. She was about to step forward when I suddenly extended my sword and blocked her path. No need to rush, Holy Maiden. There could be something strange hidden on this kid. That green light may not be from any righteous technique. Besides, I need to conduct a prison intake inspection first. You're a young lady. It wouldn't be appropriate for you to watch. Su Qingyan froze. A prison intake inspection? I ignored her completely and turned toward Mo Ying. Listen carefully. First, leave him with only a pair of underwear. Second, shave every strand of hair from his body. I don't want hidden poison or miniature weapons concealed anywhere. Third, inspect his mouth, ears, nostrils, and every hidden location. Check for storage rings, secret scrolls, or anything suspicious. Fourth, remove every accessory he possesses. I don't care if it's a red string or a black bead. If it's attached to him, I want it removed. Fifth, after all of that, lock him up using my specially designed wind chime shackles and force him to drink a bowl of spirit dispersion soup. Su Qingyan stared at me in disbelief, her face alternating between red and pale. Xiaojue, you're humiliating him. I looked at her with complete seriousness. Holy Maiden, you're mistaken. This is called a safety inspection. How many experts in the martial world have ignored one insignificant ring and ended up being killed in a reversal? I'm simply thinking about everyone's safety. 15 minutes later, the deeply unconscious Chu Feng was brought before me. Beside him sat a tray filled with miscellaneous belongings. My eyes passed over the silver and ordinary pills before locking onto a plain black iron ring that looked completely worthless. There it is. A cold smile appeared in my heart. I didn't touch it with my hands. Instead, I used spiritual energy to lift it from afar and immediately tossed it into a box forged from 10,000-year mystic ice. The box was covered with 81 layers of sealing talismans. Mo Ying, take this box and throw it into the spiritless pool beneath the Tiandi sect headquarters. Assign 2 Origin Infant Elders to guard it day and night. No matter what voices come from inside, whether it's someone's grandfather, ancestor, or a spirit promising supreme cultivation techniques, nobody is allowed to open it. At that moment, Chu Feng slowly regained consciousness. The first thing he saw after opening his eyes was me standing before him. Xiaojue, you demon! Kill me if you want, torture me if you want, but what kind of ability is humiliating me like this? Even though he was weak, his gaze remained fierce. Truly a standard protagonist with an unbreakable backbone. Then he noticed Su Qingyan. Instantly, his eyes lit up as though he had seen a savior. Miss Qingyan, you're the holy maiden of the Sun Moon Divine Cult. You're a role model of righteousness. Save me. Kill this demon. As long as I survive today, one day I will— Shut up. I interrupted him before he could finish. Walking over, I looked down at him from above with a mocking smile. Chu Feng, do you think having the Holy Maiden here gives you confidence? I turned toward Su Qingyan. Holy Maiden, he wants you to kill me. For the sake of our agreement, why don't you explain the situation to him? Su Qingyan took a deep breath and stepped forward. Her expression was calm and cold. Chu Feng, after what happened at the Jinghong Sword Sect, cult leader Xiao agreed to spare your life. But for the next 10 years, you must remain within the Tiandi sect. This is the best outcome I could obtain for you. Chu Feng looked as though he had been struck by lightning. You made a deal with him? How could you make a deal with a demon? Don't tell me you're afraid of him too. That's impossible. You're the Holy Maiden. You should rather die than compromise. Looking at the expression on his face as if the entire world had betrayed justice itself, I couldn't help laughing. Amazing. Truly worthy of being a child of destiny. People like you always think the entire world should revolve around you. Saving you is everyone's duty, and if they don't, then they've betrayed you. I patted his face lightly. Stop dreaming, kid. Your ring has already been confiscated. Your cultivation has been sealed. Your spiritual channels are locked. Right now, even an ordinary person could kill you. Then I waved my hand. Take him away. Turning toward Mo Ying, I issued what I considered the ultimate weapon against destiny-favored protagonists. The anti-protagonist imprisonment method. Mo Ying, lock him inside the Tranquility Prison. Remember these iron rules. First, every guard assigned to him must be mute and illiterate. I don't want to hear any stories about prison guards being persuaded by the protagonist's speeches. Second, all guards must be male, preferably men who aren't interested in anyone at all. I refuse to allow some ridiculous story where a female jailer falls in love with a prisoner. Third, feed him only liquid food, just enough to keep him alive. I want him constantly hungry and too weak to think about escaping. Fourth, move him to a different prison cell every 3 days. The locations must be random. He should never learn the layout of the Tiandi sect. Fifth, keep bright lights on 24 hours a day. Don't let him sleep properly. I want him mentally exhausted and incapable of entering any deep cultivation state. Even Mo Ying felt his scalp tingle after hearing all of that. The way he looked at me was filled with awe. This wasn't imprisonment. It was far worse. Even immortals would go insane under such treatment. Take him away. As Chu Feng was dragged off, his unwilling shouts gradually faded into the distance. Su Qingyan stood nearby and watched my flawless series of preparations. A chill slowly crept into her heart. She had never met a villain who was this cautious, this calculating, and this terrifyingly familiar with human nature. For the first time, she wondered if agreeing to become a hostage for 10 years had been the same as stepping into a bottomless abyss. What is it, Holy Maiden? Do you think I'm too cruel? I turned around and returned to my usual refined and elegant demeanor. I even took out a handkerchief and carefully wiped the hand I had used to pat Chu Feng's face. After a moment of silence, she shook her head. The victor writes history. It's just, you've already crippled him. Why are you still so wary of a single ring? I stopped wiping my hand and looked at her. My eyes became frighteningly deep. Holy Maiden, do you know why villains always fail? Why? Because they think victory is already guaranteed, so they start showing off. I burned the handkerchief into ashes with spiritual fire and said softly, as for me, I only trust enemies who are completely dead. If I promised you 10 years of life for Chu Feng, then I must make sure that during those 10 years he doesn't have even the smallest chance to rise again. After saying that, I turned and looked toward the sea of clouds beneath Death Cliff. However, another matter was already occupying my thoughts. Chu Feng was temporarily handled, but the old monster inside that ring was still a problem. Ordinary seals would only hold it for a while. Since I was a transmigrator, perhaps it was time to use some scientific methods. Mo Ying, go find craftsmen and have them forge a giant iron container. Fill it with mercury and molten lead. Seal the box containing that ring inside it, then throw the entire thing into the deepest cesspit you can find and suppress it there for 49 days. Understood. Looking at Su Qingyan's speechless expression, I smiled slightly, revealing my 2 signature tiger fangs. Holy Maiden, welcome to the Tiandi sect. I hope we cooperate pleasantly over the next 10 years. Oh, and one more thing. To keep you from getting bored, and to prevent any secret schemes, from today onward, you'll serve as my personal maid. Su Qingyan's beautiful eyes widened. What did you just say? Don't be so shocked. I'm very cautious, remember? I pointed at my head. Keeping you close is the easiest way to monitor you. If you try to pass messages to Chu Feng or attempt to assassinate me, I can knock you unconscious before you get very far. Time passed quickly, and before I knew it, an entire month had gone by. Inside the sect master's study at the Tranquility Courtyard, I reclined comfortably on a couch woven from 1,000-year blood silkworm silk. A month passed in the blink of an eye. Inside my study within the Tranquility Courtyard, I was comfortably reclining on a couch woven from 1,000-year blood silkworm silk. Meanwhile, the Holy Maiden of the Sun Moon Divine Cult, Su Qingyan, who had been recovering quietly during this period, was currently standing beside me with a freshly prepared spirit fruit in her hand. Her expression was so stiff that it looked painful. Through clenched teeth, she said, "Cult leader, please enjoy." She held the fruit up to my mouth. I didn't open it. Instead, I slowly raised my eyes and looked at the fruit as if it were some kind of biological weapon. Before peeling it, did you pierce all 36 vital positions with a poison-testing silver needle? Was the knife boiled in water for 15 minutes to sterilize it? Most importantly, I pointed toward her pale fingers. Did you wash your hands 3 times? Su Qingyan took a deep breath. Her chest rose and fell dramatically as she struggled to suppress her anger. Xiaojue, I personally watched Mo Ying pick this fruit from the tree a few moments ago. The knife belongs to you. I washed my hands. Are you eating it or not? I shook my head. Holy maiden, that's the wrong way to think. One must always guard against hidden dangers, especially when dealing with a maid who clearly doesn't want to be here. What if you secretly hid some colorless, odorless spirit dispersion powder under your fingernails? Then I pointed at the fruit and said seriously, you eat it first. Su Qingyan's face instantly turned red with fury. Without saying another word, she grabbed the fruit and took a savage bite, as if she were chewing on my flesh instead. After swallowing it, she glared at me coldly. There, I ate it. I'm not dead. I'm not poisoned. Happy now? Yet I still didn't move. I simply stared at her while silently counting in my head. 1, 2, 3, all the way to 300. Only after 5 full minutes passed, and I confirmed her complexion remained healthy, and her breathing steady did I finally nod in satisfaction. Good, looks like it wasn't poisoned. Then I casually picked up a different piece of fruit from the tray, and ate that one instead. As for the piece you bit earlier, it has your saliva on it. I don't eat food other people have touched. Su Qingyan looked completely speechless. If looks could kill, I would have been turned into a porcupine several times over. At that moment, steady footsteps sounded outside the study. Cult leader, this subordinate has a report. Mo Ying entered and bowed. Following your orders, we sealed the ring inside the lead box, placed it within the mercury-filled iron container, and threw it into the deepest section of the abandoned 100 Poisons latrine pit behind headquarters. However, the elder guarding the pit reported that slight tremors have been coming from below. My eyes instantly sharpened. The spirit fruit in my hand was crushed into pulp, just as I thought. I sat upright immediately, my 2 tiger fangs flashing with cold light. I knew it. These old masters hiding inside rings are impossible to kill. Even after being soaked in all that filth, he's still trying to revive himself. He's probably attempting to break the seal or send signals to Chu Feng. Xiaojue, you're being a little... Su Qingyan began to complain about my paranoia, but one look from me silenced her. Mo Ying, issue my orders immediately. First, fill that entire pit. Use glutinous rice slurry mixed with black dog blood and soul-suppressing sand. Seal it completely. Second, build an evil-suppressing tower on top of it. Cover the tower with spirit-suppressing runes. Third, assign 10 loud-mouthed disciples to stand there 24 hours a day and curse at the ring. The uglier the insults, the better. Disrupt the mental state of the remaining soul so it can't concentrate. Mo Ying accepted the order and left immediately. Once the matter of the ring was handled, I stood up and adjusted my robe. Come, let's go visit our child of destiny. The Tranquility Prison of the Tiandi sect was less like a prison and more like a psychiatric asylum. The corridors were unnaturally silent. Only the glowing stones embedded in the walls emitted a cold, pale light. Together, Su Qingyan and I arrived in front of a specially designed prison chamber. There was no traditional door. Instead, a massive one-way crystal wall separated us from the inside. We could see everything within, but the prisoner only saw his own reflection. Bright lights illuminated the room day and night. Chu Feng was curled up in a corner. The confident young hero I had once chased across mountains was gone. He was little more than skin and bones now. His eye sockets had sunk inward and his lips were cracked from dehydration. He stared blankly into empty space while muttering to himself, "Water, give me water. I'm a genius. I shouldn't be here. Ring, old master, where are you?" Seeing him like that, Su Qingyan couldn't help tightening her fists. A trace of sadness appeared in her eyes. Xiaojue, killing someone is one thing, but what you're doing is even crueler than death. Cruel? I clasped my hands behind my back and stared coldly at Chu Feng through the crystal. Holy maiden, do you believe that if I gave him 1 bowl of rice and 1 supreme cultivation manual right now, he'd recover completely within 3 days? And after that, the first person he'd kill would be me. The second would be taking you away and adding you to his harem. That's nonsense, Su Qingyan argued. Chu Feng has flaws, but he's not that kind of person. I smiled slightly. Is he? Let's test it. I signaled toward the Dragonfang prison guard nearby. The guard immediately opened a tiny feeding hatch in the wall. However, instead of food, he tossed a battered old manual inside. 4 large characters were written across the cover. Sunflower scripture. Of course, it was a fake version I had personally created. Inside the cell, Chu Feng heard the noise and lunged forward. The moment he grabbed the book, his previously dull eyes exploded with shocking light. It was the gaze of someone desperately obsessed with power. His trembling hands opened the first page. There, written clearly, were the words, "To practice this technique, one must first castrate oneself." Su Qingyan immediately looked away, unable to bear watching. She was certain Chu Feng would tear the insulting book apart in rage. But the next second, an insane burst of laughter echoed through the room. "Ha ha 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 ha! Heaven truly leaves a path forward! Heaven hasn't abandoned me!" Chu Feng hugged the manual like a priceless treasure. His eyes were wild and distorted. "As long as I can get revenge, as long as I can escape, forget castration. Even becoming a demon would be worth it. To my surprise, he immediately began searching the room for a sharp stone. He was genuinely preparing to do it. Su Qingyan's face turned pale. She stared at the scene in disbelief. The young hero who once spoke endlessly about honor, righteousness, and virtue was now ready to abandon every principle the moment he faced true despair. I casually waved my hand. The guard immediately shut the hatch and released a shockwave that knocked Chu Feng unconscious before he could actually act. After all, if he somehow succeeded in cultivating the technique, that would only create more trouble. Do you see now? I turned toward Su Qingyan, whose face had become completely pale. This is the righteous hero you admire, a man willing to throw away everything for power. If someone like him ever rises to the top. Just as I was observing the broken Chu Feng through the crystal wall, a disciple suddenly rushed over and bowed. Cult leader, people from the Righteous Alliance have arrived. My eyebrow twitched slightly. That was fast. Which great hero has come to throw his life away this time? The disciple swallowed nervously before answering, It's Ling Yi, the chief disciple of the Azure Cloud sect, the one known as the Little Sword Immortal. He brought the myriad people's umbrella with him and gathered more than a dozen nearby sects. They're currently outside the Tiandi sect's gates, demanding that you release everyone, cripple your own cultivation, and go to the Righteous Alliance to accept punishment. The moment Su Qingyan heard that name, she suddenly looked up. A complicated emotion flashed across her eyes. Ling Yi, Chu Feng's sworn brother. His talent surpassed even Chu Feng's, and he had ranked first on the previous generation's genius list. Hearing that, I didn't panic in the slightest. Instead, I rubbed my chin and revealed my 2 trademark tiger fangs as my smile widened. The sworn brother has arrived to avenge the little brother. A classic case of one gourd baby after another. Then I turned toward Mo Ying. Issue my orders. First, switch the mountain protection formation to harassment mode. Don't kill them immediately. Let them wander around outside and exhaust themselves first. Second, take all those letters and account books we recovered from the Golden Rainbow Sword sect and print thousands of copies. Scatter them from the mountain peak. Let those righteous little sects see exactly what kind of justice they're supporting. Third, I walked over to Su Qingyan and gently lifted her chin. Holy Maiden, since an old acquaintance of yours has arrived, it's time for you to make an appearance. In a moment, you're going to stand on the city wall and personally tell the Little Sword Immortal that you're very happy living here. Su Qingyan glared at me. Keep dreaming. I will never help you deceive my fellow righteous cultivators. I leaned closer and whispered near her ear. Deceive them? That's such a harsh word. If you refuse to cooperate, I'll release the recording of Chu Feng preparing to castrate himself and broadcast it across the continent with projection stones. Let everyone witness his glorious moment. Tell me, after that, do you think your senior brother Ling Yi will still risk his life for someone like him? Su Qingyan's body trembled. She stared at me as if I were a demon. Xiao Jue, you truly are despicable. I simply straightened my collar and walked toward the exit. My voice echoed through the corridor. Thank you for the compliment. Remember this, in the cruel world of cultivation, being despicable is often the greatest virtue for survival. Soon we arrived at the mountain gate. The area was already packed with people. At the front stood a young man wearing the flowing white robes of an Azure Cloud Sect core disciple. Beneath his feet floated an azure flying sword. Suspended behind him was the myriad people's umbrella glowing with faint golden light, making him appear like a righteous savior descending from heaven. Hundreds of self-proclaimed righteous heroes stood behind him, all shouting angrily while raising their weapons. Zhao Jue, come out and face death! Ling Yi's voice boomed like thunder and shook the mountain protection formation. Standing atop the city wall, I didn't immediately reveal myself. First, I checked the 3 layers of high-grade silk armor hidden beneath my robes. Then I confirmed that the concealed needle launchers and emergency escape talismans hidden in my sleeves were fully prepared. Finally, I swallowed a high-level antidote pill before casually approaching the wall. Of course, I didn't stand out in the open. Instead, I positioned myself behind a specially crafted 3-foot-thick, one-way mystic gold blast shield. Well, if it isn't the famous Little Sword Immortal, my voice echoed through the amplification formation, sounding relaxed and thoroughly irritating. You came all this way. What is it? Interested in joining the Tiandi sect and helping us farm some wasteland? Although judging by that delicate skin of yours, I doubt you could even carry a hoe. Seeing me hiding behind the shield, a trace of contempt flashed across Ling Yi's eyes. Xiao Jue, we're from the same generation, yet you're as cowardly as a turtle. Stop wasting time and release Chu Feng and Holy Maiden Su immediately. Otherwise, I will flatten your Tiandi sect today. Flatten us? I laughed. With that mob behind you and that broken umbrella, Ling Yi's expression darkened. This is the myriad people's umbrella. It contains the wishes of countless victims harmed by your actions. The righteous always receive support while the wicked stand alone. Stop, stop, stop. I interrupted him and glanced toward the pale-faced Su Qingyan beside me. Holy Maiden, your turn. Remember what I said. If your performance disappoints me, the entire continent will be watching Chu Feng's heroic self-castration tonight. Su Qingyan's body stiffened, her eyes filled with humiliation and struggle. Yet when she remembered how insane Chu Feng had become and what would happen if the recording became public, she finally took a deep breath and stepped forward. The moment Ling Yi saw her, his eyes exploded with excitement and affection. "Qingyan!" he shouted. "Don't be afraid. I'll rescue you right now. Did this demon place restrictions on you? Did he poison you? Tell me!" The righteous cultivators below immediately joined in. "Holy Maiden, don't worry. We'll save you even if we have to die." Yet Su Qingyan's next words instantly silenced the entire battlefield. "Senior Brother Ling, everyone, please return." Her cold voice spread across the mountains. "I am staying within the Tiandi sect willingly." "What?" Ling Yi nearly lost control of his flying sword. It was as though lightning had struck him. "Willingly? Qingyan, what nonsense are you talking about? This demon slaughtered countless people and destroyed the Golden Rainbow Sword sect. How could you possibly?" Su Qingyan closed her eyes and recited the prepared explanation through gritted teeth. "The Golden Rainbow Sword sect was not what you imagined. The Yi family secretly cooperated with evil cultivators and committed countless crimes against female cultivators. Cult leader Zhao is not someone who kills indiscriminately. I remain here to investigate the truth. In short, I am fine. Cult leader Xiao has treated me with great respect." To make her words seem more convincing, I casually reached over and brushed a loose strand of hair from beside her ear. My movement was natural and effortless. Su Qingyan's entire body became rigid, yet she didn't dare dodge. Unfortunately for Ling Yi, that single gesture was more painful than a sword through the heart. The woman he admired had just been touched by the demon he hated most. "Xiao Jue," his composure shattered instantly. "I'll kill you!" His spiritual energy exploded outward. The flying sword beneath his feet transformed into a massive blue dragon, dozens of meters long, and charged toward the mountain formation with enough force to shatter mountains. "Break for me!" I clicked my tongue and shook my head. So impatient. Young people really can't control themselves. "Well, since you're the one attacking first, self-defense should be reasonable, right?" Then I snapped my fingers. "Mo Ying, activate the Immortal Slaying Gatling formation. Since he's called the Little Sword Immortal, let's show him what overwhelming firepower feels like." "Understood." The moment Mo Ying responded, hundreds of hidden compartments opened across the Tiandi sect walls. Emerging from them were not bows or magical artifacts, but hundreds of thick black tubes forged from 10,000-year mystic iron. A massive spiritual charging sound echoed through the air. The next second, the sky exploded with fire. These weren't ordinary projectiles. Every metal dart carried explosive talismans and armor-breaking talismans I had personally drawn over the past month. More importantly, each projectile was coated with Bai Qianshou's newest poison. Instantly, endless explosions connected into a continuous storm. Ling Yi's magnificent blue dragon shattered upon contact with the metal barrage. What kind of weapon is this?" Ling Yi's expression changed drastically. He swung his sword desperately to defend himself, but there were simply too many projectiles. Thousands upon thousands rained down without pause. Even as the top genius of his generation, even with protective treasures, he lasted only 10 seconds beneath that insane bombardment. A powerful explosion shattered his protective artifact. Then, hundreds of projectiles swarmed him like hungry sharks. A miserable scream echoed through the sky as he fell from the air like a kite with its strings cut. He crashed heavily into the dirt below. Smoke rose from his body, and his clothes had been reduced to little more than rags. "That's enough." I waved my hand to stop the formation before unnecessary ammunition was wasted. Looking down at Ling Yi lying on the ground like a dead dog, I turned toward Su Qingyan and smiled. "See, your senior brother Ling isn't that impressive after all. He couldn't even survive one round of my ranged attacks, yet he wanted to rescue people." Su Qingyan looked at the miserable figure below. A trace of pity appeared in her eyes, but she also secretly felt relieved. Because deep down, she knew that if Ling Yi had actually managed to break through the formation, here we go again. Just when I thought I had handled Ling Yi, I still wasn't willing to lower my guard. I pointed at the unconscious genius and coldly ordered, "Search everything. I don't care how insignificant it looks. Don't miss a single item." Very soon, Ling Yi was dragged into the dungeon while Mo Ying walked over carrying a tray. On it rested a broken sword and an ordinary-looking wooden token. Cult leader, he wasn't carrying any rings, just this wooden token hanging from his neck. We couldn't break the cord no matter what we tried. I had to cut it using spiritual energy. I took the token and immediately felt something strange. It was warm to the touch, and an ancient symbol was carved into its surface. I swept it with my divine sense, only to discover that my spiritual perception vanished into it like a stone sinking into the ocean. My expression changed instantly. Without hesitation, I tossed the token into the heavily sealed box. I knew it. Every one of these geniuses has some kind of cheat. If it's not a ring, it's a token. If it's not a token, it's a tattoo. Behind Ling Yi, there may be something even more terrifying than the old man inside Chu Feng's ring. It could be an upper realm expert or some ancient inheritance. I immediately raised my voice. Mo Ying, handle that token separately. Don't throw it into the cesspit. If we accidentally offend some upper realm monster, that'll be troublesome. Take it to the extreme Yang furnace in the back mountain. Lock it down with 9 spirit-binding chains and roast it with pure Yang flames 24 hours a day. Let's see if some powerful clone can endure that forever. Mo Ying immediately accepted the order. However, before I could even drink a cup of tea and calm down, a deafening explosion suddenly erupted from the back mountain. The entire Tiandi sect shook violently. Thick black smoke rose into the sky, accompanied by an indescribable stench that instantly spread across the headquarters. What happened? My protective spiritual barrier activated automatically as I covered my nose and stared toward the mountain. Who blew up the cesspit? A disciple covered in filth came running toward me while crying. Cult leader. Disaster. The 100 Poisons pit we used to suppress the ring exploded. The ring escaped. It seems to have gained consciousness. It flew out and entered the mouth of a yellow dog guarding the area. My eyes widened so much that my tiger fangs nearly bit my tongue. You're telling me that the old man inside the ring possessed a dog? The disciple nodded frantically. Yes. The moment the dog swallowed the ring, golden light burst from its eyes. It started speaking human language and shouted, 30 years of humiliation cannot suppress me. Let this venerable one cultivate the Tao of dogs and destroy your entire sect. Then it ran away like lightning using some bizarre movement technique. For a moment, complete silence filled the hall. Even Su Qingyan's lips twitched as she desperately tried not to laugh. A legendary ring grandpa turning into an immortal cultivation dog was ridiculous even by cultivation world standards. Meanwhile, my face darkened to an alarming degree. Damn it. I calculated everything except the possibility that this shameless old monster would lower himself to possess a dog. I took a deep breath, but the more I thought about it, the worse it became. This is bad. A dog with intelligence, cultivation knowledge, and a blood feud against me is far more dangerous than Chu Feng. A terrifyingly cautious light appeared in my eyes. Pass down my orders immediately. Activate level 1 war readiness. Issue a dog hunting decree across a 500-mile radius. Every dog must be captured. Male, female, black, white, wild, domestic. I don't care. Bring them all in. Especially dogs that look unusually intelligent or seem capable of walking on 2 legs. Better to catch the wrong one than miss the real one. I wasn't finished yet. Also inform Bai Qianshu to stop researching antidotes. I want him to develop anti-rabies medicine and specialized dog-killing poison immediately. That dog needs to understand something. In my territory, even a dog must obey my rules. Su Qingyan finally couldn't hold back anymore. Xiaojue, don't you think you're overreacting? It's just a dog. I immediately turned and stared directly at her. Holy maiden, you don't understand. Dogs aren't scary. Educated rogue dogs are scary. A cultivation dog can crawl through holes, hide anywhere, gather followers, spread chaos, and cause endless trouble. That kind of unstable variable must be eliminated before it grows. The moment I finished speaking, I shot into the sky with my sword in hand. Old Zhang, bring the dog capture squad, even if we have to dig up every inch of land within 500 miles. We're finding that dog. 3 days later, the entire Tiandi sect was filled with a strange atmosphere combining murderous intent, disinfectant, and dog food. Those 3 days had been absolute misery for every dog within 500 miles. The prison that once held criminals was now packed with thousands of dogs. Village dogs, hunting dogs, wolf dogs, huskies, and even several foxes that merely resembled dogs had been dragged in for questioning. Sitting on my throne with a dark expression, I listened to the latest report. Cult leader, we've finished screening the first 500 dogs. We've tested them with roasted meat, intimidation, and various other methods. Their responses were limited to drooling, barking, and attempting to bite people. No abnormalities were found. Dog Ao Tian is not among them. Mo Ying's eyes were bloodshot from exhaustion as he delivered the report. I slowly tapped the armrest of my chair while frowning deeply. That old monster from the ring was definitely a crafty veteran. After possessing a dog, he had managed to hide himself perfectly. The more I thought about it, the more suspicious it became. Any normal dog would have exposed itself by now. Yet this one remained completely hidden, which meant only one thing. The old man inside that ring was far more patient, dangerous, and cautious than I had originally estimated, and that realization made me even more uneasy. Just when the dog hunt seemed to be going nowhere, Another report arrived. Cult leader, something strange happened in Mountain Village. The villagers claimed that the old yellow dog belonging to Widow Wang, a dog that normally slept all day, suddenly went crazy yesterday. It rushed into a chicken coop, killed every rooster, and then climbed onto a large stone at the village entrance where it spent the entire night sitting under the moon as if it were cultivating. The hall instantly fell silent. A moment later, everyone inhaled sharply. A dog cultivating beneath the moonlight was not exactly normal behavior. I shot to my feet, golden light flashing in my eyes. Found it! It's definitely that dog. Killing roosters was clearly to absorb yang energy, and meditating beneath the moon means it's gathering yin essence. That old monster adapted to his new body far faster than I expected. I immediately pointed toward Mo Ying. Gather everyone. Bring the immortal binding ropes, the demon suppression tower, and don't forget Bai Qianshou's latest creation, the super ultimate irresistibly delicious meat buns. This time we're ending it. No more mistakes. That very night at Widow Wang's house, the old yellow dog sat cross-legged atop a millstone. Its front paws formed a bizarre cultivation gesture, and its eyes contained an ancient hatred that no ordinary animal should possess. Inwardly it cursed, "Damn that Xiao Jue! He forced this venerable Dan sovereign into such a miserable state. I was once a supreme expert of the upper realms, and now I'm cultivating inside the body of a dog. If I don't get revenge, I don't deserve to call myself a dog." Suddenly its nose twitched. A heavenly aroma drifted through the night air. The scent was so rich that it seemed to penetrate directly into the soul. It came from premium spirit beast meat combined with countless rare spices. The old yellow dog swallowed hard. "What is this smell?" Its pride as a former Dan sovereign screamed that it was obviously a trap. Unfortunately, the instincts of its dog body were screaming even louder. "Eat it! Eat it immediately!" Before it could finish struggling with itself, hundreds of dark silhouettes appeared on the surrounding walls. Then, countless steaming meat buns rained from the sky. The dog panicked and attempted to activate a movement technique to escape. To its horror, its body ignored its commands. It leaped through the air, perfectly caught one of the buns, and swallowed it whole. "No! This isn't my will! It's the body's instinct!" the old soul screamed internally. A second later, overwhelming numbness surged through its body. Even its soul felt frozen solid. "Shameless! Despicable! You poisoned the buns!" That was its final thought before collapsing onto the millstone, tongue hanging out, and eyes rolled back. "Move!" At my command, Mo Ying and I descended from the sky. Within seconds, the dog was wrapped in 9 heavily inscribed chains and secured so tightly that it resembled a mummy. We even placed a muzzle over its mouth. Looking down at the unconscious dog, I finally smiled. "Ancient master, huh? Ring grandpa, huh? Trying to outsmart me? You should know by now that in this world, there's no problem a meat bun can't solve. And if one bun isn't enough, then use 2. Even Su Qingyan looked stunned. "You actually caught him?" She still couldn't believe that an ancient soul capable of shaking the cultivation world had been defeated by a plate of poisoned buns. "Of course!" I clapped my hands. "Take him back. Put him in the same prison as Chu Feng and Ling Yi. It's time for a reunion." Back in the deepest dungeon of the Tiandi sect, the 3 prisoners finally met. When Chu Feng and Ling Yi saw the yellow dog thrown into the cell, both stared blankly. "What's that?" Chu Feng asked weakly. "Dinner?" Before anyone could react, the dog suddenly woke up. The moment it saw Chu Feng, its eyes filled with tears of excitement. In its mind, it was shouting, "Chu Feng, it's me, your master from the ring! Take off this ridiculous muzzle, I can get us out of here!" Unfortunately, what actually came out was, "Woof, woof, woof, woof." Chu Feng frowned. "Why is this dog so noisy?" Ling Yi looked equally annoyed. "Probably a mad dog. Xiao Jue really treats everyone like livestock." The old master nearly lost his mind. He desperately scratched symbols into the ground, trying to communicate. Unfortunately, I had anticipated that possibility. Pressing a button beside the observation window, I activated a mild electric field across the floor. The dog instantly began twitching and hopping around uncontrollably before it could finish writing a single character. "Interesting," I said while watching. "Looks like our canine friend has hidden dancing talents." Then I activated the amplification array. "Good evening, everyone. Since we're celebrating this touching reunion, I've prepared a little game." In the center of the chamber, a platform slowly rose from the floor. Resting atop it was a single pill. That is the only antidote available. It won't completely cure my poison, but it will temporarily ease the suffering. All 3 of you have been infected with my 7-day gut-rending poison. Without treatment, the pain will worsen every day. There is only 1 pill every 7 days. Whoever gets it keeps living comfortably. The rest suffer. This was one of the most effective psychological traps I had learned from my previous life on Earth. If enemies couldn't be destroyed physically, they could be broken mentally. The atmosphere inside the cell immediately changed. Chu Feng stared at the pill with burning desire. The torture he had endured had already pushed him beyond his limits. Ling Yi still possessed some rationality, but even he couldn't ignore the instinct to survive. As for the old dog, it didn't need the antidote, yet it knew that if the other two began fighting, it would become collateral damage. Chufeng, don't fall for it. This is a trap, Lingyi shouted. Senior brother, but the pain. Chufeng staggered toward the platform, his eyes growing darker by the second. The old dog barked desperately, trying to stop him. Woof! 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 Suddenly, Chufeng lunged forward and punched directly into Lingyi's injuries. The two immediately began fighting. The dog fled in circles, trying to avoid getting caught in the chaos. Watching through the crystal window, Su Qingyan's face turned pale. Xiaojue, you've pushed human nature to its limits. She watched in horror as people she once admired tore into each other like wild beasts. I calmly poured myself a cup of tea. Holy maiden, this is the real world. I don't even need to lift a finger. People destroy themselves when survival is on the line. Destiny, talent, heroic reputations, none of it matters when fear takes over. I took a sip and smiled faintly. And this is only the beginning. In the end, the so-called Child of Destiny never changed the world. Instead, under the joint management of old Zhang and me, the great Zhao dynasty entered an era of prosperity unlike anything it had ever seen before. I abolished the monopolies that major sects held over cultivation resources and established cultivation academies throughout the realm. I introduced 9 years of mandatory cultivation education. As long as someone possessed talent, it didn't matter whether they were rich or poor, noble or commoner, they all had the opportunity to learn. I also enacted the laws of heaven and earth, strictly prohibiting cultivators from slaughtering ordinary people at will. Any violator would be punished without exception. My methods remained ruthless, and my personality never became any less cautious. Yet the people gradually realized something unexpected. Life under the rule of the so-called Great Demon was far better than it had ever been under the smiling hypocrites who once claimed to represent righteousness. 10 years later, atop the highest peak of the Tiandi sect, I stood overlooking the vast lands that had completely come under my control. The mountains, rivers, cities, and countless lives below had all become part of a new order. Behind me, footsteps approached quietly. Su Qingyan walked to my side. Over the past decade, she had become the renowned vice cult leader of the Tiandi sect, respected throughout the world. After standing silently for a moment, she spoke softly. The 10-year agreement has ended. According to our promise, I can leave now. I turned to look at her. My expression remained calm. That's right, you can leave. I returned your soul jade years ago. You're completely free now. Su Qingyan fell silent. The wind brushed through her hair as she stared into the distance. During these 10 years, she had witnessed everything. She had watched me transform from a feared villain into the architect of an entirely new world. She had seen the hypocrisy hidden beneath the banners of righteousness. More importantly, she had come to understand that beneath my almost obsessive caution was a deep sense of responsibility for the future of the world. After a long pause, she slowly raised her head and looked directly into my eyes. Then she smiled. It was a smile so beautiful that it felt as if ice and snow were melting beneath spring sunlight. The world is vast, she said softly, but there is no longer any place for me within it. The righteous factions see me as a traitor. The demonic factions see me as an outsider. Only here, only by your side, does this world feel real. She stepped forward and stood beside me. Together, we gazed toward the endless sea of clouds stretching beyond the horizon. Cult leader Xiao, the Tiandi sect still has room to grow. The cultivation academies still need to expand, and your ascension project has barely begun. Are you really capable of handling all of that alone? For the first time in a long while, I was genuinely caught off guard. Then a smile slowly spread across my face. A real smile. Honestly, probably not. You know how cautious I am. Without someone I truly trust watching things with me, I can barely sleep peacefully. Su Qingyan laughed quietly. Then let me keep watching. Her voice carried warmth I had never heard before. After all, one day you might accidentally poke a hole through heaven itself. Someone has to keep an eye on you. The wind howled across the mountaintop. Clouds rolled beneath our feet like an endless ocean. Standing side by side, neither of us spoke again. Yet somehow, words were no longer necessary. Behind us stood the empire we had helped shape. Ahead of us waited countless unknown challenges. And for the first time in many years, I felt something I rarely allowed myself to feel. Not caution, not suspicion, not calculation, but certainty. As the sun slowly rose above the clouds, our silhouettes stood together against the horizon, unmoving and unshaken, like the most steadfast scenery in all of heaven and earth.